of us.
That's fine. That the pictures of us will just stay there, and we've got the presentation there. Yep. Wow.
Ooh, okay. Here we go. So this is what the flat Earth projection looks like, the plan view, and you see Antarctica is the circumference there on the outside, circling the whole Earth. That's what we call the South Pole, and this is why countless sailors that have tried to circumnavigate Antarctica have spent years doing so, including Captain Cook. He spent, I think, nearly 4 years, and he logged 60 to 70,000 miles, and he still did not completely circumnavigate Antarctica. Reason being is because it's longer than, it's probably about 75,085, or between 75 and 85,000 in circumference.
And if it was a little island on the bottom of a ball, Santos, it would only take a short time to circumnavigate. If it's just a little icy island at the bottom of a ball, it shouldn't take that long, right?
Well, it'd take about, think about it, how long would it take to travel 12,000 kilometers? You'd probably do it in about 6 weeks. You should be able to, do it now anyway. In modern times, they should be able to do it. They should be able to fly around it in a jet and film the whole thing. They don't, and they won't, because they can't. As we will see, this is quite a different world in which we live. We live in quite a different world to how the materialist Darwinian evolution model types are painting for us. They have no idea at all. At least what you will see in today's presentation, you will come closer to the truth than you will ever be, because we need to marry syncretism with the flat Earth model, and because syncretism, it subscribes to the ancient cosmologies, and the ancient cosmologies will teach us how the universes are created, and where it is that we live. This is the sun and the moon in their circles above the Earth. It appears at this point they are somewhere in the middle. This looks like they are somewhere in the equator region. It doesn't look like it's high above Australia there on the Tropic of Capricorn, and it doesn't look as tight enough of a circle to be at the Tropic of Cancer. Cancer is much smaller of a circle. There is the Gleason map. I've ordered this. I should have had it in the mail weeks ago, but it keeps going to the wrong address. And the guy at the location where they print these maps, he's getting very frustrated. He's had it come back to him 3 times. But this is the true map of the Earth that we live on.
I want to get flat. Those. So you can buy them still, Santos?
Yeah, I bought the big one. It's about $110, and it has all of this, what's called, it's the equidistant azimuthal projection. So equidistant azimuthal, that's what it's called. It's, the flat Earth is basically just a simplified way of describing the planet on which we live.
Planet, yeah.
Yes, and it is. That's what planet means. It means plane. And so what you see here, this is very, very telling, this cartoon-like depiction of the cosmos. You see the spheres in which we live. We live in these spheres. There are 10 of them, as they teach in Kabbalah, the 10 Sephiroth, the tree of 10 Sephiroth, and they are concentric circles. Okay, so I won't dwell on them so much right now, but this is a depiction of these spheres, and this is not a correct one, by the way. What they've done here is they've put the flat Earth down here, and above that they've put the a dome, and they call it a solid dome. Now, this is wrong. This is not right. It's not correct. Especially the fact that they've put the stars in there. All the fixed stars do not belong to that first sphere. This dome-like structure called the firmament does not belong here. It belongs in the 8th sphere. There are seven spheres before that sphere. Okay, and so, but this is more or less correct, and it shows. Notice those 3 layers underneath the flat Earth there. You notice the green layers below?
Yeah.
Right. There are 7 more of these planets under our Earth. Okay, so it's an octave system. Our Earth is the topmost, and below that are 7 inferior gross planets. Now, the 7 superior planets, they are Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And they are not planets. They are stars. Okay, the Sun and the Moon are called luminaries.
Yeah.
And the so-called planets, Venus, Mercury, etc., those are stars. They are luminous bodies. Astronauts with physical bodies cannot go there. You can't go to Mars. Now, these people who think they've gone to Mars, they've gone somewhere, yes, but they haven't gone to Mars, because you can't go to Mars as a physical body, not these bodies. So astronauts are telling poo-poos, and so are the people who believe they've gone to Mars and back and what have you. They're not telling direct lies, because they do believe they went to Mars because they were told they went to Mars.
Yeah, they're actually somewhere, right? There's a colony somewhere, but is that on one of the inferior Earths, would you say?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. It's at the very least, it's one of those 7 planets that resembles Mars in the higher octave.
Right.
Okay. Now, I probably should wait for some further slides before I go into this, because people need to see the structure of the heavens according to the ancients before I jump in and preempt the true wisdom with my own, clouding and my own very insufficient language skills and eloquence. No one can do justice to the cosmological system ever. You must have a spiritualized, intuitive mind activated to at least be able to attempt to conceive it and understand it. Whereas some people would just jump off and say, oh, this is all nonsense, and they would rather subscribe to the consensus reality model of the globe because everybody else believes it, and without any proofs or evidences. It's simply ridiculous. So let me just get through a few more slides, and then I'll be able to expound on this much, much further. This is the Kabbalistic system, okay? In the center here, you have the Earth. The Earth is Malkuth. It is the 10th sphere. It is the earthly plane. And above it, you see the 7 rings starting from the moon and then going to Saturn. And then above Saturn is the firmament. That's what's the firmament. That's where the true firmament is. So in the first slide we saw just prior to this one here, you can see the stars are first, and then above that they've got the moon, then Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and then there's nothing beyond that, and on top is the throne of God. Well, this is wrong, because those stars should be above Saturn.
Right.
And this is the correct model. Okay, so I'm offering this presentation, this slide, so that we can be able to conceive it in our mind's eye. Okay, now, so the firmament is this starry abode here. Uranus is the ruler of that 8th sphere, and those are the fixed stars of the zodiac and all of the 48 ancient fixed constellations. There are now 88 modern constellations, but the original ones were 48. All of those stars, they are all in the firmament, okay, with the exception of a few stars such as Sirius, Ursa Major, the Pleiades, probably the Orion system, and Canis Major. All right, so there are some exceptions, but 99% of the stars you see in the sky, they all belong to this sphere, the 8th sphere, and that's where the fixed stars are. And this sphere actually precesses. This is where precession occurs, because it is not syncing with the sun's ecliptic. So in other words, on the 21st of March at the equinox, rather than the equinox pointing to Aries, it's now pointing to Aquarius. So we say that we are in the age of Aquarius. Well, that's because this particular firmament, this starry sphere, is precessing, okay? And your sidereal astrologists, like your Jyotish and Vedic astrologers, they use the stars in that sphere to denote the stars of the zodiac, whereas in the Western tropical system, the constellations are actually on the ecliptic. And so those never precess. So the tropical system, which is what I'm teaching, and it's also biblical and hermetic astrology, is based on the ecliptic, okay, the sine wave. Now, above the firmament is what's called the crystalline sea. This is the 9th sphere. And then above the crystalline sea, which is ruled by Neptune, it is a sphere of water, psychic water. And these are the waters above the firmament. So above the firmament, there is water. And below the earth, there is water. Okay? The earth is suspended by waters. And then above this 9th sphere is what's called the primum mobile, which means the first motion. So the first motion is fixed and firm, and so is the earth. That's why we call it terra firma. Terra firma means it is firm. It's not moving.
Okay.
And the scriptures do tell us that the Lord created the earth and firmly established its pillars. See, the earth is firmly established.
Is that why we can't see any movement of the northern star if we're in the northern hemisphere? Whenever we're around the North Pole, that it never wavers. It always it's almost like the axis point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the axis point. In fact, Polaris is directly above Brahma's. That's what I was trying to merge those two words. Above Brahma's locale, you could call it, or loca, which is above that mountain in the center of the North Pole. What we are going to learn, Eilish, and we are going to understand from now on and forevermore, is that the cosmos we live in is a beautiful creation of a very, very intelligent primal cause, the root cause of all causes. And in the West, we call that, I don't know, Jehovah, Allah, Christ. In the East, they call it Krishna. And this intelligence of beautiful form and omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence is everywhere a conscious being permeating all of the universe. And this is what we're going to learn. We're going to get away from the mechanical evolutionary global model that we've inherited from the sociopaths that have created this false scarcity shortage, energy shortage model of a ball. But we'll get to that. There's plenty of time for getting into that. I think it is more important to establish the roots of our cosmological system first. So here we see the scriptures.
Sorry, Santos. Just a comment or a question. From the graphic I'm looking at, it reminds me very much of the Russian doll Logos point of view that was written about by Dr. Joshua David Stone, in which there's, for example, the Logos, which is the soul that inhabits this body, and then the planetary Logos, and then the solar Logos, the galactic Logos, and so forth. Almost like that particular graphic that you're showing at the moment reminds me of the embodiment of the divine within the Logos system, as in the series of Russian dolls example.
Yes, perfect. You see, that sphere at the center called Earth is an anagram for heart.
Yeah.
It is always the core of the system. Core means heart. And so this is the Logos is the creator of these worlds. The Logos means word. Word in Latin is verb. Verb is vibrate, vibration. Vibration is sound. Reverberate, radiate. Now, what this is showing is that the Lord, by which name we wish to call him, Jehovah, Allah, uses energies called electricity to create material worlds. And the powerhouse which produces this vibratory force is magnetism, divine magnetism. And this force of electricity is what's called the second creator, the demiurgos, the god of matter, because it vibrates, and it uses 5 different kinds of electricity. And the 5 different kinds of electricity are the same kinds that our body uses for the senses. There is a different electrical circuitry in our nervous system for eyes, for vision, for sight, for the sense of sight, and there is different electricity used for smell and for touch and for hearing. So light works on the sight and vibration works on the sound. Now, usually the 2 most common forms of electricity are those 2 there. And so this is where the Logos becomes the creator through sound, or the creator that produces through light. And so the sound that the creator uses is om, or atom, and this is why the Egyptians say all is atum, and that is the sound of creation. And all theologies have this atomic, Adamic, God-like theology, because it's all based on atomic electrical vibration. Okay, so
atom and Adam are etymologically similar too.
Yeah, and notice you said etymologically, because what is etymology if not the science of atom? It's
Yeah.
everything is the science of atom. So is your anatomy.
Yeah.
And so, and you will find, if you look at my presentations dealing with atom, you will understand this. It's pretty clear because the ecliptic is called atom. The sine wave is called atom. That's the big secret. That's the big secret, that all sine waves are called atom. They are all atomic. So an atom is a sine wave. It's a thought wave universe. And so when you speak about the logos, you have the first logos, the first cause. Then you have the second expansion. So that would be Krishna. And then he expands into Balarama, his brother. And it becomes Narayan or Vishnu or Mahavishnu. And then Mahavishnu is the creator of all the worlds, and then Brahma creates the physical worlds. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. But this is the Jewish Kabbalistic Hebrew system. Now, so you can see here, these are the 10 spheres, and at the very, very top is the cause and the source of all of this. Above the rose, the red rose of the Rosicrucians, you see that golden pyramid, and it points upward to the supernal empyrean. And so outside of these 10 conditions, of these 10 spheres in which we live, is the cause, the spiritual causes of these worlds, and that is the empyrean. And that is an unconditioned abode. And so out of that unconditioned abode comes all of these conditioned abodes that we witness, and we are living in one of those called the solar system. We call it a solar system, but it's a universe. We live in a universe unto itself, as we're going to see in a minute. And this is the Babylonian system. So you see a pyramid with 10 spheres, or 10 steps, 7 steps upward and 7 steps downward. And in the middle is the 15th sphere, or you could call it a sphere, but it's a plane, it's a planet, and that is the Earth. Okay, so similar system. Here are some of the scriptures which really point to a flat Earth, and in the Bible, Isaiah is a good one here. Isaiah 40:22. He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. And so, and other scriptures tell forth a lot of truth too. Joshua 10:13, where Joshua asked the Lord to make the sun stand still. Well, here this myth and cosmology is teaching that the sun has a trajectory. That's the hidden truth, the anagogic truth hiding behind these beautiful allegories and mythologies. Here is another scripture which I really enjoy. Actually, if you go back to Isaiah, it says, and continues saying, he stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. Well, if you remember my graphic of the tent-like teepee structure in which the sun goes up to the Tropic of Cancer and very, very high up in the sky, and then goes down the teepee on an incline to the Tropic of Capricorn. Well, this contraction expansion vortex that the sun is creating is this tent that is spread out, this tabernacle for the sun. And if you look at Psalms 19:4, it says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. There is no speech, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard. Their line," this is the ecliptic, "has gone out through all the earth, and their utterances to the end of the world. In them he has placed a tent for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. It rejoices as a strong man to run his course. So it shows there that the sun is truly marching along a circuit. It's making a circle in the sky. Now, here, if you spend some time here meditating on the analemma as it is superimposed upon the stereographic plane Earth, you will see how the analemma confirms and proves and is evidence of a flat Earth plane and a sun doing clockwise circles above the Earth plane. Now, it is my opinion that that the circles that the sun is doing are not perfectly concentric. And I believe that the sun is slightly off-centered, which causes the analemma shape in the sky. Otherwise, I believe that if it was concentric, the analemma would consist of a perfectly straight line.
Yeah.
Now, I might be wrong. There might be other explanations for this, but definitely, even with the ball Earth model, there is scientists know that the sun is further away from us at the Tropic of Cancer. In fact, they say it's about 3 million miles further away from the Earth, the sun is, and it's again 4 or 5 million miles closer to the Earth at the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, these figures are totally exaggerated because they assume and presume that the sun is 93 million miles away from us, which it is not. And you can just do simple tests to confirm that the sun's only a few thousand miles above our heads. So probably 4,000 miles, I don't know. Some say about 5,000, 5 or 6,000 miles.
It's really interesting how you were saying that the sun travels clockwise, that Mount Meru is in the center. As a Buddhist practitioner, we circumambulate the stupas, which are very much like the Mount Meru. When we make offerings, mandala offerings, we're actually building a mandala and calling it Mount Meru, and we're circumambulating when we're on pilgrimage around stupas. In this exact format. So we're looking at the correlation between Vedic and Tibetan astrology or the Eastern philosophies in regards to the precession of the sun around this plane existence.
Yeah, look, where people need to focus is on the ecliptic. And that's where I've always been pointing all the time in all of my presentations, regardless of the model which I've used, the erroneous Copernican model. It matters not what shape the Earth is for the sake of syncretism. Syncretism and the ecliptic stand on their own. They teach and they contain all of their own wisdom and knowledge, just standing on their own merits. The ecliptic is the teacher of all things, the sine wave, as it is a thought wave universe. Everything is waves. And so this wave can be best studied through the ecliptic because it's a fractal that is large enough for us to contemplate quite easily. For instance, we can begin at the start of the sine wave at March the 21st, and we can go day for a day along the year, and we can have a look at all the holy days, and we can see that they all occur along the ecliptic in harmony with the sun traveling up and down its tent-like incline upward to the Tropic of Cancer and downward to the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, take a look. If you've got a Christmas tree, take a look. Most people listening will have a Christmas tree standing somewhere in their homes. have a look at the angle of that Christmas tree. Above the Christmas tree is always a 5-pointed star, and the Christmas tree is basically telling us about the sun on its incline traveling up to the Tropic of Cancer. See, it's now at the bottom of the Christmas tree. It's at the very bottom.
Yeah.
Right? It's Christmas Day is the 5th of December, and it has to go from the bottom of the Christmas tree up to the Tropic of Cancer, where Sirius, where the sun will be conjunct Sirius, its mother, in the Tropic of Cancer, at the top of the Christmas tree. So you see, the science is already in place. All we have to do is focus on the ecliptic, and the ecliptic will teach us all things. And this is why tropical astrology is the foundation of all schools of astrology, all of them. All of them must bow down to tropical astrology, because the ecliptic and the constellations on the ecliptic are more influential and powerful, and the primary force of astrology in our solar system or solar cell. And so this is why it is always accurate in all of its applications. For instance, medical astrology is perfectly accurate in the tropical system. And also, when you look at the physiological features and characteristics of the each particular sign, you will see that they coincide only in the Western tropical system, whereas they are not correct. You cannot discern the physical facial features of a sign, astrological sign, using the sidereal system. It's out of sync, and I've proven that in my presentations. So here we have another flat Earth graphic, and you see the analemma. So you can see there very, very clearly that the larger portion of the analemma indicates that the sun is traveling much, much wider arced circles and much faster. It is actually definitely covering more territory in the so-called southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
And there is the analemma from the northern hemisphere perspective. If you went down to, say, Argentina and photographed the analemma for a year, you would find that the loop is upside down. Again, confirming the equidistant azimuthal plane is the correct one.
Amazing.
So I'll leave that for the viewer to read. Here we have again another depiction. You have a central magnetic north, where you have beautiful fertile lands above the Arctic Circle, and where you're not allowed to go, of course. And then you see a serpent-like Ouroboros on the outside perimeter, and this is the Antarctic region. And you see the pancakes below the Earth. They seem to indicate subterranean planetary systems.
Is that where Admiral Byrd went, do you think, brother?
Yeah, look, I'm not quite sure about Admiral Byrd. I tend to think that there might be more co-opting with those types. I don't trust the guy at all. He might have been the youngest general or whatever and very intelligent, but I just watch the man talk and I just don't trust him. I believe they are just he was just there to dramatize the mineral and the material wealth of Antarctica and the Arctic regions, just to sort of give more authority to so-called governments to protect those areas and keep us away from there, and national security and blah 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 and all of this rot. I think they just schemed it up all along. But yes, I do believe that it is somewhere in those regions we have access to the inferior worlds, and this is where all your so-called aliens and, I don't know, reptilians, greys, ETs are coming from. They won't be coming from other universes, as will be showing in a couple of minutes. They'll be coming from below and not from above. So here we've got the city of Brahma just above the central magnetic mountain, in a dome-like structure. I don't believe it's like a physical dome. I think it's a luminous dome, just as the
energy dome, you say?
Yeah, well, it's all energy. I mean, even the Earth is just is a luminous body. It's just we call it solid and dense because it's dense light. But the moon is of a different quality of light, and it's not solid like ours. The Earth is what we call terrestrial, but none of the planets are terrestrial. Mars is not terrestrial. They can't send probes there and to, stroll around on the planet. They're not going to Mars. They're actually going to subterranean places, and they're lying. And Mars is not millions and millions, 1 billion miles away. They're just a few thousand miles up, and they're stars, or rather they are luminous bodies. They are also demigods, archons, the demiurgos. They are the body of the demiurgos, the demiurge. They are the composite of Jehovah. They are one of Krishna's expansions. There's many ways to describe them, but they are definitely not terrestrial, and you can't go and, physical astronauts, you can't go there. For a start, they're not qualified. The Hindus teach that only qualified beings can go to the moon and the spheres after the moon. So only the rishis get to go there. Now, so at the bottom of this plane here, we see Jambudweep. Jambudweep is the flat point from where all of our Earth extends, from this central point here. And of course, this is Mount Meru, Mount Sumeru, Samaria, Moriah, Zion, Sinai, Olympus. This is all the sacred mountains, guys. It's all Magnetic Mountain in the center of the Earth, the Earth plane. And so here we have the path of the sun. Again, you see the small red circle is Cancer, Tropic of Cancer. And this is why, please remember that all the ancients said that souls come in the gate of men at the Tropic of Cancer, and souls leave the solar system at the Tropic of Capricorn, which is called the gate of the gods. So keep that in mind when you envision this tent-like structure in which the sun goes up on a ramp to the Tropic of Cancer and down the ramp, Lamb of God, down to the Tropic of Capricorn. And so it is a ramp, and as it contracts up to the Tropic of Cancer, souls come into this cell. They filter down from the Milky Way galaxy, as Plato describes it, and then they come through all the rings, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Then they come to the heart, Earth, same word. And then as the sun expands and it goes, expands as it climbs down the ramp from the Tropic of Cancer, souls leave this plane from the Tropic of Capricorn. Here is an artist's impression of all the worlds, and as you will see there is a central tree, the Yggdrasil tree, where this toroidal field emanates from, and the plane projects outwardly, probably ad infinitum. We have no idea, but there's probably, beyond Antarctica, there's probably other dome-like cell structures which are called universes, and they project forever on a plane, or perhaps it's finite, and it has a terminal point, and so, but nonetheless, what you're going to see is how the universe is created by the root cause of all causes, and how these material worlds are drawn back in again in one of the in-breaths of either Vishnu or Brahma. And
it's really interesting, looking at the birth and the death of Jesus, Horus, Dionysus, Attis, Adonis, all the sun gods. We're seeing the same story over and over again, where as you were talking before, it reminded me of the birth and the death of this sun god.
Yep. And the sun dies when it reaches the Tropic of Capricorn. It actually dies each time it passes a tropical point. In fact, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. But Capricorn is the nastiest one from the projection, or from the vantage point of the people who live in the Northern Hemisphere in particular, because you see, that brings the cold weather, which is cruel, and which is Saturnian, and Saturn is Satan, and so Saturn rules the winter, you see. And so, of course, yesterday was St. Tom's Day. Well, Tom is Saturn. It's all of these dualistic gods who bring heat and cold. And so along the ecliptic, all of the sacred days that are close to the equinoxes and solstices all have to do with Tom and Thomas. Very interesting, isn't it?
It is.
So without syncretism, you can never really fathom the complete picture of the ancient cosmologies. You have to embrace all of the theologies and sciences. So what we have here, this is very clever artistic depiction of how the torus field centering this these two electrically charged dome-like structures. You see the blue above and the red below. Red always depicts infernal, hellish realms, and blue is always sky, heaven, God-like, and sort of more to do with a consciousness and I guess the spiritual nature of things, whereas red is usually depicting physical, the physical material world. Please keep this graphic in mind, because this one is very, very, very telling. And notice the torus field in the center of these two domes. Yeah, this is how it truly is. It has to be like this, as you will see in a minute. So this is what's going on, Eilish. You see here, you see the Yggdrasil tree. Okay, you see galaxies in the shape of an apple, in the shape of an Earth. They've put a globe in here erroneously, but you get the point. It's the core, it's the middle, and then they've put a man in here. They've put an apple in here. Well, what this is all about is torus fields. You see, because the original word for the bull was apis, And apis is the root of Apollo, the apples of Apollo. And so, and this is what an apple is. It's a bull. It's a torus field. You see the core of the apple, the heart of the apple, the heart of the tree, the heart of the human being. It's the core, the cardiac, the heart, the torus. And so this word apis, apple, Apollo, arbor. You see, this is why a tree is an arbor. Well, that arbor is really just an anagram for abra. Ab is app. App and ab are interchangeable. And so this is why you always have Krishna, the Lamb of God, is always playing with his cows, you see, or tauruses, and he creates the tauruses with his flute, you see. He just plays with his flute and he creates worlds. This is the first logos you were talking about before, because the world is created with vibration, whether it's the electricity of sound or whether it's the electricity of sight or smell. But they are electrical forces. They are vibratory fields of toroidal fields. And the sine wave is wrapped around these little tauruses, these little cows. Okay, or apples. You can call them apples. You can call them Apollos. You can call them Saturns. This is what Saturn's rings are doing. They're not rings, really. They're energy emanation. They're just fields of energy going outwardly in its torus field, because below the rings will be a red, the red portion of that energy, and then above Saturn's rings will be the blue.
Yeah.
Here we have the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the Research Centre, the Army's Research Centre, and Dryden Flight Research Facility. And in point 3 of the concluding remarks of this report, they say this report derives and defines a set of linearized system matrices for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Now, so why would they, train pilots in this, non-rotating Earth model? It's tantamount to putting square training wheels on your children's bicycles to train them with square wheels so that they can ride better later with circular wheels when they graduate from square wheels. It doesn't make sense. Flip-flopping from globular gravitational spheres to flat non-rotating plane is totally, can you imagine the havoc of flip-flopping between these two systems? Obviously, there is only one system, and that, as exposed here and admitted by this National Aeronautics and Space Administration, there's only one model, and that's the flat Earth non-rotating. And so this picture here is very handy to explain the vanishing point. And so from the viewer's viewpoint, vantage point, they would see everything in the on the flat Earth. They would see it disappear on the horizon, no matter how big it is, and no matter whether it's a luminous body like the sun. It will set, quote unquote, set, because it has to vanish as it gets further away. And so this argument of the sun setting and it appears to go over the horizon and under is totally erroneous, and it is a truth of appearances. It's not an absolute truth. So, but to absolutely prove that the sun is circling above a flat plane, all you need to do is go up in a jet. And these days, they are kind enough to take you up to about 45,000 feet, I believe. And so what you will see when you look out the left window and the right window is that the horizon comes up to your eye level.
Yeah.
And no matter how big the circumference, they say the circumference of the Earth is 25,000 miles. Now, even if it was 250 million miles in circumference, you would not see the horizon at 45,000 feet in altitude come up to your eye level. You simply wouldn't see that. You would see a falling away, or at least...
That's right. There would be a drop-off point where you just wouldn't see buildings anymore, tall buildings.
No.
I find it remarkable. I live in Geelong, and from where I live on the hill, I look over the bay and I can see the high rises in Melbourne across the bay, in Port Phillip Bay. And if we were living on a ball earth, those buildings that I see across the water, across quite a big bay, I wouldn't be able to see them, you know. That those buildings would have fallen away, but I see them across the water, and some people might say, oh yes, but that's because we're on a really big globe. But there's you know, and I've been watching a lot of Eric Dubai's arguments about this, about the distance, and about how buildings should start looking like they're on an angle, because, you know, you're dipping over the edge and you never see that. They're always straight, and you can see them no matter how far you go just with a telescope, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's been some shenanigans going on in the media with photographs of Chicago clearly seen 100 miles across the Lake Michigan, and you can actually see the whole skyline, all of it, not just the tops of the buildings. You can see it, all of it, and it actually ramps up. You can see in the picture that the Chicago skyline actually ramps up to your eye level. There's no falling away at all. And so this is the marvelous thing. How is it that people in the city of Genova in Italy can actually see Corsica 99 miles away, and the island of Elba 125 miles away? Now, that should be about 8,000 feet below the level, and yet you're sitting in a cafe in Geneva and you can just see the whole island of Elba rising up like a ramp to your horizon. You can sit there and drink coffee and just watch it. And supposedly we're living on a globe with a circumference of 25,000 miles. Man, you should be able to see arc and drop off with the imperfect eyesight that we have as humans. We should be able to see it just within eyeshot, anywhere. Now, when I go driving around in the mountains here near the ocean, I can see ocean for hundreds of miles, and the whole skyline is flat, and it ramps up to my eye level, and I'm on the mountains. I'm standing on the mountains, and I can see flat earth ramping up to my eye level, 360 degrees around me. Now let's continue on. Here we have Mahavishnu, or Narayan, the four-armed version of Krishna, dreaming, and from his navel a lotus stem comes forth, and he creates all these bubbles, all these universes, where his causal energy is distributed in expansions infinitely through the universe. And so what we have here is we have a creative process. And this is what I'm going to, in a minute, we're going to go back to this chart here. Eilish, can you see this?
Yep.
You can, okay. Well, what we have here what we have here is the Vedic system, and the pink lotus at the very, very top, this is the causal world, as you can see. That's Krishna's abode. That's called Vrindavan. And then below that, there's a middle white portion. That's the white light. That's the effulgence of the creator, the prime creator. And that's what's called Brahmajyoti. And that's the white light of the creator. And so that separates the spiritual superior world from the inferior physical world below. And this is where we are. We live in one of these bubbles, one of these spheres. So we live inside a sphere. And what we're going to do later is we're going to have a look at this here. Can you see where my cursor is?
Yep.
Right. Well, in the middle of these are 15 planets, and 7 of them are heavenly planets, and hence subtle, and those are Moon through Saturn. And then in the middle is the Earth, and that is gross and subtle. And then below us are 7 planes called the gross planets. And this is a universe. Okay, so we're going to have a look at that. And so this explains why the ancients are always creating dome-like structures for their religious edifices. Because what they are doing is they are mimicking or copying the heavens. You see, these are resembling the nature of the spiritual world around us and how the physical world is an effect of it. These are symbols, and notice how some of these domes, the artwork inside them, like the Sistine Chapel, has all of the account of creation, and you'll be surprised to see that the account is very scientific. It's very cosmological and mythological. And you need to understand how to interpret the artwork of the likes of Michelangelo. You cannot interpret these literally. There's no literal rendition that will give justice to these beautiful works of art. But I would like to tackle that one day myself and show the true story of creation and how it is. Here is how this dome-like structure is perceived by the alchemists. The firmament is the sphere in which we have to leave to become enlightened and illumined, because outside of that sphere there is no sunshine. There is a different kind of light. It's a superior light.
So the disclosure with the Truman Show, and even terms like the Thunderdome, you know, like in Hollywood, there's disclosure. These are the, oh yeah, and we're seeing nuts there, or nut there. These are all disclosures revealing the nature of what we're living in, a disc dome or a disc, flat disc within a sphere, as you said.
Yep. Yep. See, the goddess Nut, the starry dome, had to be held up. What that's showing is that there are forces at work to keep our cosmos functioning, you know, and those forces are called netas, which we call natural, which we call the gods. And so all this so-called worship of the gods is not actually worship of the gods at all. It is worship through the gods to worship one God. And that one God is a trinity. You will always see a trinity of gods, Isis, Osiris, and Horus. Or you will see Krishna, Balaram, and Radharani. Or you will see, you know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This This is a divine, sacred secret. Many people, excuse me.
Or Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva in the Hindu tradition.
Yep, exactly. And so, but notwithstanding it being a trichotomy, God, it is still one God, and it is a God of person and a God of form. It has spiritual form. You see, some people say, "Oh, God is formless. God is white light." No, that's God's effulgence. But behind the effulgence is a person, a form with qualities, love, endless love, justice, wisdom, knowledge, wealth, abundance, and is the fountain and source of all things in all potencies. And there is nothing lacking in that person, you see. And we are of that person. We are units, deific units of that person.
We are atoms.
Yes, we are atoms. All is atom. So we are Adamites. Of course we are Adamites because we have an atomy made of atoms. And so in order for us to be persons with individuality, there has to be a source causal person. And for us to have a form, you see, we look at this body and we think we are the body, but we are not. We have a spiritual form which causes this form. And so it's that so-called formless part of us which manifests this this form, physical form that we see. And so continuing on with the slides, because I want to get back to that graphic. How much time do we have remaining there, Eilish?
We've got half an hour, Santos.
Mm-hmm.
And some viewers were wondering if they could call in, but finish your presentation first, and then if we have time, we might answer questions.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm nearly finished. So there's the UN flag. There's a lot of symbolism here, guys. A lot of symbolism here. And unfortunately, a lot of half-cocked so-called truthers are going out there saying that the Flat Earth movement is a psyop by the Jesuits, and they're trying to sell us a flat world order and so forth. They're half-cocked, and they need to do their research properly, and they need syncretism, you know, quite frankly. The psyop is the ball, and it's been around since the early 1500s, and that is the only psyop that is keeping us in a prison, in a cult of shortage and scarcity worshippers. These creatures that in government that subscribe to these shortage notions, they are controlled by the demonic forces from the planes below our Earth. That's where they're coming from, man. Those guys down there, they want to control what goes on our planet because we're supposed to be in paradise. We're supposed to be enjoying paradisaical conditions and brotherly love and bliss. And, you know, well, you can't have perfect bliss on planets. You can only have bliss on spiritual planets. There is no bliss, pure bliss on any material planets in the universe, period. So there's your Santa ball. Sorry?
Yeah. They're topping from the bottom. They're dominating beneath us.
Yeah.
Santa ball.
Yeah, the Santa ball. So what I want to do now is the last thing I want to do is go to my graphic here. Where did I go? Where did it go?
Just go back.
Let me see. Here we go. Let's do it this way. All right. What I want to do now is finish with this, and then we can do questions and answers. And so the middle portion here, Eilish, this is the white light where the Maya Davis go. And a Maya Davi is someone who preaches to that all is one. God is light, white light, and they teach that we can actually merge with that light and be in bliss forever in that white light. Well, that's true. It is very true, but it's not the absolute truth. And the absolute truth is that beyond the white light there is a being, there is a person in which there is a spiritual world totally separate from this world in which we live, where activity can happen forever in one mode of time, which is the forever present, the forever now. So this is the forever world of now, and outside of that world, below the Brahmananda or Brahmajyoti world here in the middle, is the inferior worlds. And that's what I want to do. I want to expand on that and go down in there and have a look at what's going on in there. So basically what you can see down the bottom here is you can see Vishnu is dreaming up this world through his navel and the lotus that is growing. And what you have here is Sorry?
Navel gazing.
Yeah. Look, because in the spiritual world, the senses are intermingled. You see, in the physical worlds, we can only see with our eyes. We can't see with our ears. We can't hear with our eyes. And vice versa. Each energy is specialized, and we can only in the Kali Yuga we can only use the organs for one sense. You see, whereas in the spiritual world, there the senses can perform all the other functions of all the other senses, and so. To create is merely a wish. It's merely a dream. And so Mahavishnu, creates this expansion. And you see here we have we have Brahma's world now. And this is the world of 2 octaves. Okay, so what you will see here in this world is you will see the earth is in the middle. They've actually got it depicted here as a sphere, which hopefully will be corrected very, very soon, because the Vedic people and the Hare Krishnas are very, very conscious and very knowledgeable of the transcendental science. So, and what this is the middle planet. Okay, this is the heart chakra of the whole system, if you like. And above us are the higher planets, which are subtle. And you'll notice that the very highest planet is called Satyaloka. Well, that Sat, that is actually Saturn. Same word as Saturn. And then, of course, you'll remember the first graphic I showed you in the Kabbalistic system. This is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and then here is the Earth plane. And then underneath this plane, there are 7 lower planets. And the lowest planet here, this is Patala, and these are the hellish planets. And the amount of pleasure in these realms is very, very limited. It's much more limited than what we should have on our earth, although the creatures who come from Atala and Vitala and Sutala and who pretend to be kind, loving aliens from other worlds, they're actually controlling our planet so much to the point that our level of bliss has been severely diminished. And so what is happening is these planets are all swimming in their own waters, as the Earth is, cosmic waters, and they are all planes, equally as large as our Earth, and they are below our Earth. And basically life graduates from here and gets to incarnate on our planet, and then from there we take on the heroic nature. We become a Hebrew or a Jew in the Kabbalistic system. In the Greek system, we become a hero. In the Vedic system, we become a demigod, or we take on their energy. And so, as you go up higher, to get out of this bubble, these sphere-like worlds, we need to escape, basically, and that's what the churches are supposedly there for us to do, to help us to escape from these material planes. So if you go to the Hare Krishnas, they will teach you that if you chant the Maha Mantra, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, 16 words, you will go to Krishna Loka. You will not go to the white light, and where you will enjoy. So let me show you what they call it. See, they call that Brahmananda, which is called the all-pervading impersonal bliss. So most of your go on.
It's also a perfect model of samsara, the Buddhist version of what we're talking about here. This is a finite system, both with upper realms and lower realms, but they do have a finite quality to them, and it's the nirvanas, the higher universes of the omniverse that we need to aspire to. So this is still the multi dimensions of suffering and impermanence that we're having a look at here on this universal model of the flat planes of existence. But then we can reach higher realms, and this is what the Buddhist masters teach too. So go on, Santos. It's correlating a lot with other Eastern philosophies I've studied.
Absolutely, it must correlate, because that's what syncretism does. It correlates and sees the interrelatedness of all things. And so the beautiful worlds of opulence and sweetness to which we aspire and we long for, our soul is longing to be reunited with our, creator, or with the beautiful world from which all other worlds emanate from, the bliss, the place of bliss, and there are different regions and grades of bliss that we can enjoy in that world, but we must escape the material world. So the Brahmajyoti is everything above Brahmajyoti. From Brahmajyoti upward is blissful. And it is what the Hindus call Sat Chit Ananda, Vigraha. So Sat means existence, and that's the root of Saturn, Sat, S-A-T. Yep. It's the root of the word truth and existence. And so time, existence is time, and Saturn is old man Kronos. So um, there is existence, and chit means knowledge or consciousness, and so there is consciousness, and ananda means bliss. So everything from Brahmajyoti upward, and you'll notice that the kingdoms above Brahmajyoti, notice this word here. What's that word there? Aishvarya Dham. You see that word Dham?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's spelled Dhama. You don't pronounce the last A, so you've got Dham. That is Adam. Okay.
Oh, Adam. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. And this is predominated by Krishna's opulence, and this is like the throne of God, and this is where people go, like your good churchgoers who want to go beyond the white light and who want to worship God. And so there's a place where you can go where you can actually worship and be a worshipful being, individual, forever worshiping God in bliss. And then above that is the highest of all worlds, and it's a more personal world where the true person of God is, and that place is called you can see here Madhura Dham. So this is the highest Adam. This is the first Logos, as you were speaking about before, and that is this is a world predominated by sweetness, and in that world you can have three forms of love for the Creator. You can have brotherly love, brotherly or sisterly. You can have fatherly love, fatherly or motherly. And the highest of all loves that you can express for the Supreme Being is conjugal. And so this is why the alchemists talk about the alchemical marriage, the alchemical wedding, because we can be wed with the Supreme Being. We can be the wife or the husband of that being, and that being is not necessarily masculine or feminine. It is above these categorizations. It is Krishna is always with Radharani, his wife, mother, consort, goddess, lover. And so where there is one, there is always two. Where there is two, there is always three. And so this world, the highest world, is where Bhagavan exists, and Bhagavan is God the personal. And below God the personal is Paramatma, and Paramatma is a mixture of personal and impersonal, the super soul of the universe. And then below that is Brahman, and that is the impersonal effulgence of the Creator, and that's where people can live forever without their individuality. They all are absorbed into the one, and where they enjoy what is called here, quite appropriately, I think, the all-pervading impersonal bliss. So there's no activity there. There is no action. Whereas personally, I aspire to go to the top. I would rather be active.
Yeah.
And so there's just a brief, a brief view of the ancient cosmology and how they all tie in with the flat Earth plane. And it's easy to see that we've been hoodwinked, Eilish. We've been put on a false projection, a false plane, in order to control us, and through shortages. So if we understand that there are worlds beyond and universes, and each pocket of known worlds is actually a universe unto itself. So our solar cell, our solar system, whatever you want to call it, is a universe. It's spherical inside, and in the very, very heart of it is a plane, and it's strung out like a like a musical instrument. There are 7 tones below which make an octave, a diatonic octave, and there are 7 planets so-called above which make another diatonic octave. And again, the number 16 prefigures in all of our theologies the 16 words of the Mahamantra, the 16 petals of the throat chakra. It's just the degrees of the width of the analema at the top is 16, and then 32 doubled at the bottom. And so what we have here is the true cosmology is coming back. And so we're going to open our eyes as to where we live, and we are going to neutralize the liars by taking away their pet favorite psyop lie, and pull the carpet from under their feet. And you watch and see how that is going to change politics forever in our little universe.
Politics for sure, because it suggests a divine, intelligent creator, and that's what they don't want. They don't want to see us aspire to go beyond the dome into what's beyond the dome, you know.
Well, it's more sinister than that. Our souls are eternal, and the bodies are not. The body dies. And if you could watch the life of your body through a time-lapse video camera, all you would see was a very, very healthy torus field at the start of your life when you were young. Excuse me, I've got a some kind of a pollen thing happened today. My nose is really, really extremely itchy. I've been scratching it for about 2 hours now. And so what was I saying? Sorry.
You were saying it's more sinister than that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me sort all this sneezing stuff out. Our souls are eternal, and our souls qualify to go to the highest of the abodes. You see, Jesus said, in my Father's mansion, in my Father's house, there are many, many mansions. We don't have to go to the void, as some voidists and nihilists are teaching. They are teaching that there is no God, no creator, no soul, no birth, no death. It's all an illusion. And then when your life, your body goes to the grave, you go back to the void. These are truths, but they are half-truths. And why should we buy into them when we can have absolute truth? And absolute truth is easy to get. You just have to do research, study. You just have to be not lazy. That's all you have to do, and you can find absolute truth. It's there, and you can do this quite easily with a sincere heart and a reasonable amount of intelligence that you bring to the table. And the absolute truth is that our souls are the same in quality and substance as the prime creator, Krishna, Allah, Jehovah. And qualitatively, we are God. We are the same as God, but not quantitatively. So our source is from the highest source, and we qualify by good virtuous acts and deeds to go to the highest places and live in sweetness and opulence immortally forever in bliss, in pure bliss, unconditioned bliss. And we don't even have to, be content with going to the white light as the monists teach. The monist will teach you, and a lot of these gurus kicking around these days, they're all teaching this: you are God, you are all that is and all that ever was and all that is will be, and you will go back to God the light and merge with him and be with him. And that's basically spiritual suicide, and that's fine. I mean, people want to do that. They don't want to be active. They don't want to have activity. They want to merge with the one, the impersonal Holy Spirit force of the Creator, and stay there. And they may even do that. They may do that forever, or they may stay there for infinite amounts of time and then revert back to an active, more active worship and activity toward the Creator. So the Brahmajyoti white light, this is for people who want to have a neutral love for the Creator. They don't want to have any kind of activity. They know the Creator. They love the Creator, but it's a neutral love. And so the truth that is being held from us is this particular truth, that we can choose consciously where we want to go forever. And by keeping us on a ball that evolved through materialistic mechanisms and causes, we now have a purely atheistic construct which does not acknowledge any sort of causal influence on this construct, and which is totally unacceptable, and causes them to go around theorizing in circles forever, and always acquiring knowledge but never coming to an accurate knowledge of truth. So the true model of the flat plane, it really settles all of the endless arguments about gravity, and it's going to go on forever and ever because it simply doesn't exist. It's rather the laws of density and buoyancy which have always been there, and which we've always contemporaneously enjoyed and subscribed to at the same time as we commit a practice of cognitive dissonance and subscribe to the gravity ball erroneous model. So it's interesting that we can have so much cognitive dissonance, and that the truth is still there. We know that on the flat Earth, the laws of density and buoyancy and electromagnetism rule, and yet we default to what's been drilled into us through education, through erroneous means and pseudoscience, and we flip-flop through both of them. And it's just quite incredible how when you study and research this subject, you'll find that on the one hand there is no evidence, no facts, no proofs, and no truths. And on the other side, weighing in favour of the flat Earth, there is only evidence, only proof, only facts, and only truths. So it's a done deal as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy that I've married syncretism with the flat Earth model now. And for the intelligent ones, I've noticed that not many intelligent people ask, how does that now work with syncretism and the models that you've used in the past in your presentations? Surely now that, you can't explain any of that. And I don't get any intelligent people asking those questions, because they know, as I know, and as I've always taught, and teaching my presentation that that everything comes from the ecliptic. And so I've explained how the ecliptic is produced. It's more correct than the ludicrous ball, Santa ball, buffoon theory. And so now that's all you have to do. Basically, you can still watch all of my presentations, and all you have to do is have the true model in your mind, and your intelligence will help you to see that it all still works perfectly. All right.
Thank you, Santos. We have to go now. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
Yeah, and thank you to CCN. We'll see you again next week on We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For.
Thank you.
The pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world should be the focus of every person on our planet. The reason it is not is because people are kept distracted by the illusions and deceit propagated by the corporately controlled mainstream media. In recent years, the rise in truly informed, savvy researchers and journalists who have all taken to the air in various capacities has given rise to a new genre of media. We have seen the explosion of truly free and independent media, and thus the need to create an ethical live broadcast network that facilitated these brave and tireless souls became apparent. With a great amount of research and meticulous planning, Conscious Consumer Network was created. CCN is a first-of-its-kind broadcast network that is specifically dedicated to free and independent media with absolutely no government control, corporate sponsorship, or advertising. The live broadcast network runs full-time with an average of 25 shows and live broadcasts a week. The high-definition live stream is free to view and is accessible from any computer terminal with online access, including laptops, tablets, smartphones, and smart TVs. All shows are archived onto YouTube and are freely available to view in order to educate and inform as many as we can without imposing monetary limitations. CCN was successfully launched on the 1st of January 2015 and has gone from strength to strength as we have improved and increased the capacities and functionalities of the network, as well as an ever-rotating and improving lineup of content which is broadcast daily. CCN is blessed to be the home of some of the hardest hitting, most cutting-edge, truly educational and informative materials. Catch interviews, reviews, and talk shows from the many different and beautiful perspectives from CCN's family of interviewers and broadcasters. Since the 1st of January 2015, we have produced over 800 shows. We have over 2 million YouTube minutes watched every month, and we have an average of 1 million hits a day on CCN's website. CCN is viewed in over 147 different countries and hosts broadcasters from 5 different continents. The time has now come to generate funding to keep CCN on the air for the duration of 2016. The total sum needed to continue broadcasting for 2016 is $60,000. This budget includes the replacement of computer equipment, the acquisition of secure servers, which are most needed as we keep getting hacked, plus the renewal of the broadcast license fee for 2016. This is a fraction of the annual budget used by mainstream media networks producing a similar quantity of content. This is what makes CCN so successful, unique, and accessible, is the ability to run a project of this size and reach on such minimal resources. CCN does not claim ownership over any of the material we produce and broadcast, as we firmly believe that information is the common heritage of all beings, and thus CCN belongs to you, the public, and it is up to you all to keep CCN going. CCN would like to thank those who have contributed to the network in the past with resources, content, information, time, and energy. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.